Hello, something a bit different planned for this evening. I'm going to do a night mudlark. So the low tide is at 10 o'clock when it will be dark, but it is a very low tide, so it's worth it. So I've just finished work and now I'm going to drive off to Clapham and get the tube from there. See you soon. We're parked in Clapham and we're just walking now to catch the tube into central London. So the head torch does quite well at illuminating a patch of foreshore, about half a metre square I suppose. I suppose it will force you to concentrate on a smaller space, which is no bad thing actually when it comes to it. There's no denying that actually London is very beautiful at night and the river is dark and mysterious, but the bridges are well lit. And it is actually quite nice to be down here. I haven't seen anybody else yet, but I'm sure other people will take advantage of this low tide. Just here, there's a lovely little pipe stem and heel. Lovely heart shape, but sadly no mark. But that's probably an early one. I think that's probably 17th century. So it's lovely that, yeah, but I'm going to leave that one there and try and find a whole one later. There's something nestling under this bit of concrete. I can't quite see if it's a bit of bone or maybe a pot rim, so I'll just pull it out and see what we've got here. It is a bit of bone actually, just a bit of poor animal from the Thames. Definitely getting up close and personal with the foreshore this evening. And here a little rim, a nicely decorated rim, I guess 18th century, probably salt glazed stoneware, although it could be creamware, I can't really tell in this light. But it's nice, it's quite a decorative little piece there, I'm quite happy with that, I'll take that home. This is a classic bit of Victorian pottery, it could be Georgian as well I suppose. Yellowware, often it had banded zones and strips of slip, but very very humble Victorian utility ware, jugs, basins, chamber pots, that sort of thing. That's a bit more interesting, a little rim or neck of something. Let's just see what it happens to be. Looks quite like stoneware, so probably not that old. Probably the neck of a flagon or something, again Georgian, Victorian, I would imagine. Well, this little strip of beach here is the reason why I've come. So this only becomes exposed at the very lowest tides. So there's always a chance of finding something which has only been revealed a couple of times a month. And we've got a little bit here, amazingly, another bit of Siegberg Jakobikana. So that's my third bit tonight. So I'm doing well with 15th century German, but not a lot else, it has to be said. That's an interesting bit of glaze. It's quite a square, solid rim with a bit of green glaze on it. We'll have a closer look at that at home. Might turn out to be something, hopefully. And the search continues. This is probably Roman. It's got a nice round rim. So I'm going to say it's Roman greyware. Obviously if there's even a spot of glaze on it when I get it home, then it's not Roman. But yeah, that's a nice formative bit of Roman London that we can add to the bag tonight. Well, it's 10 to 11 and I think this is probably as low as the tide is going to get, and it is pretty low if you have a look around. A bit more recent now, a bit of Sunderland slipware. This is ubiquitous across the whole country. Sort of very dark brown speckly exterior and then the white slip interior, very much used for kitchenware and dairyware, pensions, that sort of thing, around the whole country. This would date from 1800 to 1900. Musical accompaniment by the party boats. Post-medieval redware. Queen in the background, and this is an interesting lump of glass. I suspect it's glass slag from the base of a crucible from the glass furnace. Blue glass. I don't know how old it is, but it's a nice little chunk, so I'm going to take it home and have a look at it. Interesting to find this here, but it looks like a bit of garden edging. Path edging, so it's probably Victorian. Bit of stoneware. There we go, interesting one. Here is a very pretty bit of stoneware, probably 19th century, Midlands or Nottingham perhaps, but it's got a lovely little pecked pattern on it. Let's pick it up, have a look. Oh, it's quite thick, so probably from a jug or a bottle, but that's a very pretty piece. I shall be taking that one home. A substantial rim from a post-medieval redware vessel, typical of this, very thick functional vessels for the kitchen or the dairy or industrial purposes as well. Very difficult to date, could be the 16th to the 19th century. But that's a nice thing, good rim, good grip, but I'm going to leave it here, I've got so much of this stuff already. A very old looking rim here, grey coloured pottery. I can't really see what inclusions it's got, but it could be Roman or could be medieval. I'll take it home and give it a wash. You can see it. Well, I've just spotted this, and it looks like half the base of a tea bowl. I'm hoping it is, and not something more modern. I'm hoping it's white salt glazed stoneware, which would be 18th century. It's normally very plain. But yeah, I think that is quite a good chunk of white salt glazed stoneware. So this was very popular for about 1740 to 1760, and this will be probably a little saucer or tea bowl. So that's probably the best find of the night. Well, it's 5 to midnight, so I was just about to leave the foreshore and head off home, and the river gave me a beautiful piece of decorated Roman colour-coated ware. So that sort of rouletted pattern on it, and the remains of the colour coat on the inside. So I'm very happy with that little piece. A nice definite piece of Roman pottery from the foreshore, close to midnight. Okay, time for the wash up after my night mudlarking session. I didn't find a huge amount. I did find it quite difficult to spot things, so I'm not sure I'll be doing that again in a hurry, but it's fun anyway. I found a tile, and there might just be the hint of an animal footprint on there. I'm not sure about that. The jury's out on that one. But I did find 4 pieces of Roman pottery. So we have a nice rounded grey ware rim. That wasn't a rim in the end, it was a base. So the base of a little grey ware vessel, Roman again. Whoops. The base of a little beaker, maybe colour coated, but it's all worn off now. And my best little Roman find, a bit of colour coated vessel there, quite worn, but you can see the decoration that they've just done, a little series of lines on it all the way round, which would have looked quite smart when new. A couple of pieces of medieval pottery, Surrey whiteware with a typical green glaze. You can just about see the inclusions in the clay there. A bit easier to spot on this one. So there's bits in the clay. This has been in the fire, so it's probably a cooking vessel because it's sooted on the outside but not on the inside, so it's not burnt, it's actually been cooked on the outside only. But there you can see typical Surrey whiteware, 1350 to 1500. If it hasn't got inclusions, then it's going to be post-medieval instead. Also beginning in the medieval period, probably coming to this country from about 1450 up to about 1500 or 1525, Siegberg drinking vessels. They've got a very matte finish, stoneware, German stoneware, often with pronounced rilling marks there, and with little sort of sections of an ashy sort of coloured residue on them as well from the firing. So they're much more matte, very fine, hard, cream coloured clay, and these come from Siegberg in Germany. Funnel-necked beakers and individual drinking cups, incredibly popular and imported in their thousands, hundreds of thousands probably, in the 15th and early 16th century. And there's a great illustration I'll just put up of a lady potter who is making one, and she's rilling it with a cow bone. Of course, post-medieval redware, any time from the 16th to the 19th century. Thick, everyday pottery. Sometimes if it's got a grey core, then it's probably a little bit earlier, 16th or 17th century. And some little pieces, but they cover the whole range of post-medieval pottery. So you have German stoneware from the Bartmann, with typical speckled salt glaze coming to this country 16th to 18th centuries. Tinned glaze earthenware with blue painted decoration. That's probably the base of a little drug jar. These would be 17th or 18th century. Midlands purple, sort of like a semi-stoneware, made from the 16th to the 18th century. Often came into London containing butter pots. One of my favourite finds of the night, white salt glazed stoneware, the base of a tea bowl. It's beautifully made. It may have been finished on a lathe possibly, but you can recognise the white salt glazed stoneware. You can see it there from the sort of orange peel surface. It's a slightly rough, yeah, you can see it there, slightly rough surface, often just undecorated and white, made from early 18th century, 1770, 1720, and out of fashion really by 1780. Height of popularity 1740 to 1760. So I was quite happy with that. Find the other half later maybe. A little bit of creamware. So this is probably 18th century, maybe into the early 19th. And just the decorated rim of a little saucer or plate. And some porcelain. So this is a glassy finish with a bluish tinge. So it's likely to be China or Chinese export porcelain, which will date it probably to the 18th century. By the end of the 18th century, much less was being imported as our own homegrown porcelain industry gathered strength. So that's got some nice little rouletted decoration on it, probably from a jug, maybe from the Midlands. Again, late Georgian or Victorian. Chunk of garden edging. There, that's the second piece I found to this in recent times. So from the Victorian era, or possibly the late Georgian era, humble yellow ware vessels, which would have been everyday pottery. They might have had blue annular slip decoration on them. Varieties of stoneware from bottles and pots and flagons. That's a bit more decorative. And this little chap is the top of a German mineral water bottle, late 19th, early 20th century. I'll post a picture of one for you to have a look at. This I'm not quite sure about. It's quite crudely made, thick grey core, and there's lots of mica, little shiny specks in the fabric. So I'm guessing it's probably a courseware import from Spain or Portugal, I guess. But bound to be post-medieval, I would think. Then the last find of note was this lovely chunk of blue glass slag, which undoubtedly is waste from glass making. But it's quite decorative, I quite like it. So it's probably come out of the base of a crucible, and post-medieval in date, I'm not quite sure when. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed looking at my finds from my nighttime mudlark, but next time I'll be back in the daytime. See you soon, bye!